everyone. Today I am sitting down with Hayley Wielgus. She is a newscaster based out of Nashville, Tennessee, and she has been involved in the Miss America organization and has even been on the judging side of it. So I think she has a lot to share, and I'm really excited for her to be here. Thank you so much.
Leah, I'm so excited to be here. And you mentioned I'm based in Nashville, but previously I was in Sarasota.
Yeah.
So made a lot of great Florida friends down there in the pageant world too.
Yes. So to start us off, can you share a little bit more about yourself, where you're from, and what you've been up to these days?
Well, I've been pretty busy because I had a baby 3 months ago. So I'm on maternity leave for one more week. I am originally from Texas. Okay. And I decided that I wanted to, well, first of all, I studied journalism at Texas A&M, and then I went to Northwestern University to the Medill School of Journalism for my master's degree. And that took me also to Washington, D.C. So I worked on the Hill for Bloomberg News, and that was in the middle of the 2008 financial crisis. So a lot of the unrest that we're seeing now with the economy, I covered a lot of that when I was working in DC for Bloomberg. So that was a very interesting time to be there. Then I started my on-air, I was field producing mostly there. And then I started my on-air career in TV in Tyler, Texas. So I went kind of back home, different part of Texas, being from Houston, but I went to East Texas. And that's where I started my reporting and anchoring and producing career and editing, shooting, did just about everything, all different facets of TV news. And that I was there for 3 years, and that took me to Sarasota. And I anchored the morning and noon newscasts at ABC7 in Sarasota, and then got promoted to the evening newscast. So I was reporting and anchoring, and I was filling in on the talk show, Suncoast View, and filling in on our 7 o'clock show there. So it was a very busy 6.5 years. And then that led me to Nashville. And I anchor 5, 6, and 10 p.m. And I also cover a lot of special assignments for the station. So that's what I've been doing for the past almost 3 years. In October, I will have been in Nashville for 3 years, which is kind of crazy, and plan to be sticking around for a few more years at least here in Nashville. And like I mentioned, I had my daughter Brighton on April 29th, and maybe a future pageant girl. We'll see if she's interested. And so she's been great, and I've been home with her. And then, like I said, I'll be back at work in a week. So I'm a little nervous, but also excited to get back into the routine. So
that's very exciting. And it leads into my next question of how has COVID impacted your work-home life? And now you have a new little girl. How is this working out?
It's been interesting because I have not been at work at the station since March 20. Well, you probably hear her screaming in the background. If I have to go grab her in a minute. So I haven't been working at the station since March 20th. That was my last day. And then I started working from home up until the day I had her. So I basically did not leave my house even to go grocery shopping. All I did was go to my OB appointments, and that was it. I mean, we went through like drive-through Sonic. That's all I did through my whole, end of my pregnancy, because I just didn't want to risk anything, with having a baby. And then pretty much continued just staying at home. And then I ventured out just a couple times just for like mental health reasons. My husband was like, you need to go to Nordstrom or something, wear a mask and, be distant. But, so I did that a couple times, and we've gone out to eat a couple times, sitting on the patio only. And, so we've been really conscious, but like I said, I'll be going back into work. So it's been interesting. I mean, with our delivery was interesting because, you couldn't have visitors at the hospital, which I was okay with personally. Uh-huh. I liked that we had our, alone time at the hospital, and we didn't have to entertain a lot of people. But it was weird because, we had to come with masks on for to have her, and then we had to be checked, screened for COVID when we were going into the hospital. So things were just a little bit different. Things at the hospital were really quiet, just not a lot of activity. They didn't have the photographers that usually come around and take pictures. There were just a lot of little moments that we kind of missed. And we would have liked to maybe do some pictures when we got back home. We didn't do that either. Just all those little moments that we kind of missed. And we feel I feel sort of like locked in the house because we just don't want to be too exposed. Like I said, we've been out a couple times, but we're just trying to be careful. So.
Absolutely. And so you talked about being a broadcaster. I want to know what led you into this career, and if you ever face any obstacles along the way, how do you overcome those in this media industry?
A lot of obstacles in TV, for sure. I mean, that's just anyone who goes into TV will face so many challenges. I have no idea why I wanted to go into TV. It's just something I was probably, no joke, this is going to sound crazy, but 4 or 5 years old when I knew I wanted to work in news and, do broadcasting. It's very bizarre, but I used to do my little reports. I had a little Fisher Price tape recorder with a little microphone, and I would do my reports from home and interview my mom and my sister about the weather. And
Oh my goodness.
so I've just always wanted to do it, and I never changed my mind. And I pursued it, and it worked out, and I was just determined. And the one thing that my very first professor in undergrad in journalism told the class, one of the very first days, was, you will advance in this career based a lot on the fact of how many people will quit. Like, if you stick with it, you will keep moving up, and because so many people will drop out because it's so challenging, which is true. I mean, if I go back to the people I went to school with, and then grad school, and then my first job and second job, so many of my friends quit along the way, and there's nothing wrong with that. It was just, everyone's path is different, but the hours are very challenging. The demands of the job are very challenging. When you're out reporting, you could be, murder scenes and fires and snow, so you're facing the elements of weather, but also emotional stories, safety issues. Sometimes you're going into some, unsafe situations where crimes have just occurred. You're dealing with having to get things, when the 5 o'clock show starts, there's no extra time. Well, I need a little extra time. I mean, things have to get done. So you're under constant deadline pressure, every single day. So that kind of wears on you. And if you're not, you don't want to deal with all that, you might move on to a different career, but I kind of thrive on that deadline pressure. So it just, you have challenges within the newsroom too. You have challenging bosses sometimes, you have challenging coworkers, and it's really just a high pressure job. And you also, on top of it, have to look nice every day. So, you've been out covering a fire and it's 100 degrees, and then you have to go live, and somehow you got to make that makeup look halfway decent for your live shot. So there's that challenge too. So overall, there's just, a lot that you have to process day after day. But if you have that grit, you just kind of stick with it.
Absolutely. And I know a lot of stories right now are covering the election coming up in November. How do you stay unbiased as a news journalist? I mean, do you think journalists should be able to share their opinions, or should they stay unbiased?
I personally believe that as a journalist, you should remain objective. And that's the root of journalism, and that's how it started, and that's how I was taught. And personally, I think that you should leave politics out of reporting. And I've always felt that way, and I always will. I don't talk about politics with people in the newsroom, even, it's definitely not on air, but not even within the newsroom. I just don't find, we'll talk about stories we're covering, but I don't share my opinions. And I found that being a journalist has also just kind of made me more objective overall. Even if my own personal politics may be one way, covering a story kind of makes you see things from the other side too. So, and it's also kind of turned me off to being political myself, because there's been so much, political fighting and divisiveness, and it has really made me be like, I'm okay with taking a step back and not being so opinionated about political topics. And I just think that traditionally, that's how, journalists cover stories, not share their opinions. And I know we have a lot of commentators now who share their opinions, and that's a different type of beast. But I personally think it should be objective, and you should be able to turn on either your local or national news and see an objective point of view.
Mm-hmm. I agree, especially with what you said about getting that other opinion. Whether you feel one way, hearing another side of it might broaden your horizons, broaden that perspective to it, which is really important.
Mm-hmm. For everyone, definitely.
Yes. And so while I mentioned you were not a candidate in the Miss America organization, you have been around, you've supported it, and you've witnessed many competitions, even judged some. So I want to know what drew you to this organization, and from your perspective, what have you gained from it?
Well, it is interesting that I was never in pageants. I was a dancer and also I was a swimmer. And so I focused mostly on, well, school. I was very committed to my academics, but, school, swimming, and dancing. And it just wasn't something I was involved with for whatever reason. But then when I got into TV news, a lot of my girlfriends in news were in pageants. And, it's kind of a natural progression because of the public speaking and so, I found them to be really smart and really on the ball and really, up on current events. And they were not, and I never really had stereotypes about pageant girls because I loved pageants. Growing up, my mom and I would watch, Miss America, Miss USA religiously. So I always loved them. But, it just further affirmed to me that women in pageants were really smart women and really accomplished women. So, I already had a great perspective on the Miss America organization. Most of them were Miss America candidates. So when I was in Florida and Alan, our mutual friend, asked me to judge a local that, winners went to Miss Florida, I was thrilled and it was fantastic. And Sarah, who was one of the winners of that pageant, went on to win Miss Florida. So that was so awesome to judge that and then see her win Miss Florida and then to go with everybody to Miss America. So I got to have that experience as well. It just showed me how, first of all, how cohesive the pageant world is. I mean, you imagine that there's going to be all of this fighting and cattiness, and I'm sure there is behind the scenes, but maybe not. I mean, hopefully not. But everyone I met in pageants, just, so friendly, so welcoming, so helpful, and just a great group, and just people who were really committed to scholarships for women who wanted to pursue all different types of careers. And of course, the glitz and glamour of it, I love too. So I just, I wish people had a better understanding of, why women get involved in pageants in the first place.
Absolutely. Yes. I think your perspective is so important to share because people do have these stereotypes of whatever that pageant girl may be, and they're not aware of the work that goes into it behind the scenes and the social impacts and the ways these women are leaders. So thank you for sharing your perspective and being a judge and supporting the organization.
Of course.
Now, if you could go back and tell your younger self, your college age self, anything, what do you think you'd tell her?
I think I would say it's all going to work out. Okay. Because you get so worried about, will I get my first job out of college or graduate school? Well, first of all, my first worry was, would I get into the graduate schools that I wanted to get into? So, I studied hard for the GRE and did so much work on my applications, and was lucky to get admitted to all of the schools I applied to, which then created a whole nother issue of how do you pick which one. Yeah. So then I worried about that. Then I worried about would I get my first job. Then I worried about, I would like to get married one day, and all my friends are married and having kids, and I'm still single, and I felt kind of left out in a way. And I felt like, will that ever happen to me? So I just wish I could go back and say, it's all going to work out. Just enjoy. And I tell all younger women now, whatever age they are, enjoy those early 20s, enjoy college, enjoy graduate school, or whatever you choose to do after college, and those single days and living alone and being able to do anything you want at any moment, because those days will, one day be gone. So, it's just having faith that the way that you want your life to turn out, not everything's going to be perfect, and you're going to have challenges along the way, and you're going to have disappointments and losses and things like that. But know that, however your path is supposed to be, it will end up working out in the end.
I really appreciate that advice specifically, because for me, I know that pressure of feeling the what ifs, the fears, and being so focused on trying to achieve your goals, that it's really important to sometimes slow down and appreciate what's right in front of you. So thank you.
Yes, just enjoy that fun time in life when it is a stressful time because you're starting off, a new life, but enjoy the time that you have being young and have fun.
Yes. And now you've been very involved in the organization as Miss America embarks upon its 100th anniversary coming up this year, which is a huge deal. What do you hope to see for the organization as we move forward?
Well, I hope there's a way. I know there's been a lot of different, controversies along the way, and there's been differences of opinion. I hope there's some way to merge the traditions of the past with some of the current changes, because, some are really great. I know some have opinions about some of the changes, and I wish there was just a way to where we can keep some of those traditions and what everybody loved about pageants, and combine that with focusing on what a woman's platform is and what her career goals are and the way she can articulate questions on stage. I wish there was just a way to kind of merge both of those. And I'm sure there's somebody out there. They didn't ask me, but I know there's somebody out there who is involved in Miss America, or who can find a way to bring us back, because I think those of us who love pageants still want to see, the show of it, the glamour of it. But you can be glamorous and smart and accomplished and all that at the same time. So I hope there's a way, and especially with everything that's going on with COVID, it's hard for any organization to do events at this point. So I hope there's a way next year where things can really move forward. And I know it's hard because, again, funding is difficult for any organization at this point. So I hope there's a way that some, generous people out there can continue to further the mission of the organization, since, scholarships are so important, and there's so many women out there who want to compete in Miss America, and we hope that it will, grow and maybe overcome some of these challenges. Because, like I said, I would hope that at some point my daughter down the road would like to do a pageant or two in the Miss America organization, and I just hope that it can come back stronger.
Absolutely. I'd love to see it continue for the next 100 years, and take some of the advice that you mentioned, because I think that's really great advice. And what do you say to the people that ask you why you are supporting the Miss America organization, or if Miss America is even relevant today?
I think it's definitely relevant. I think we should take the old stereotypes. I think it's just I don't know if there's maybe a marketing campaign that needs to be done or something, because if you ever, like I said, if you've ever been involved with women who are in pageants, you will understand almost immediately why it's important. Just because it's such a small portion of it. It's just like TV news. I tell people being on TV is such a small portion of your day. It's a few minutes or a couple hours in a 9 or 10 or 12-hour day. Just like with pageants. Your on-stage performance is, one small portion of what you're doing to prepare for a pageant, as far as being informed with current events and public speaking and working on your platform and all the social causes that you support. So I think it's a marketing issue. I think is just, making sure that people understand the reasons why it is important, and the scholarship money that is gained, and how it allows women to further their education. And so hopefully there's a way to convey that and to let people know that it is still relevant, because all of those things, and especially the talent portion, the arts are so important for all of us, especially in a time like this where we just aren't getting to connect with others. You just wish you could go see a play, or, go to the orchestra, symphony. And there's just when you don't have that, you really know how much that you're missing music and art and dance in your life. And a lot of those things are really important for our mental health. Mm-hmm. And, being a dancer, that when you're dancing, it's a whole different feeling. Like, it's just, it's just something that it just is so great for your mental health and for your physical health as well. So it's just, there's so many facets to the Miss America pageants that are so important for this, society as a whole. And if people could understand that these are really, just like yourself, very multi-talented women, and this is just one way that they can show all their different talents. So I hope that we can embrace that.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you so much for hopping on today and sharing some of your words of wisdom. You have the cutest little girl, and I'm so excited for you. And I will let you get back to tending to her and living your best life in Nashville.
Yes, and I wish you all the luck, and I hope that, when COVID's over and we can get back to regularly scheduled programs,
Yes.
wish you all the luck in the world. You're very talented, beautiful, smart, so I know your future is extremely bright, whatever you choose to do.
Well, thank you so much. Have a great day.